So Trump is an extortionist. Haven't you figured that out by now with his audited deals? It's all about extortion. He's suing Harvard for $1 billion. He's suing BBC for $10 billion. He sued Fox News for $10 billion. He's suing the New York Times newspaper for, I think, $5 billion. He suing the IRS for $10 billion. Now, get this. In 2015, remember when Trump had a table full of mountains of white paper? He said that was his tax records, but since he was being audited, he didn't want to disclose his records, his tax filings. Now, this was the same year that he only wanted to get away with paying $700. That's why he was trying to hide all his money and only pay $700 from the IRS. So because the IRS released his filings, his tax filings, he got embarrassed. And now he wants to sue them for $10 billion. Now, $10 billion is what the IRS revenues earn in a year. So an entire year from the IRS taxing every American person for that whole year is a little bit over $10 billion. Meaning $10 billion is 75% of the revenues of a yearly revenues for the IRS. So Trump wants to sue them for $10 billion, which is 75% of the yearly gross of the entire IRS taxation of the American peoples. He wants to extort the IRS for $10 billion because they released his filings that he only paid $700 for his yearly returns. So for that reason, he wants to pocket it and extort the IRS for $10 billion. He wants to sue BBC for $10 billion. He wants to sue Fox News for releasing the Epstein birthday card. He wanted to sue them for $10 billion. He wants to sue Harvard for $1 billion. He wants to sue Time Magazine for $5 billion. He wants to sue, who else? JP Morgan for $5 billion. Because when he was trying to overthrow the government, he was trying to overthrow the Constitution. And when he ran to Mar-a-Lago with a bunch of corrupt files on his corruptions that he was trying to hide from the FBI, the banks didn't want nothing to do with him. He was facing bank fraud, real estate fraud, tax evasion, which he was found guilty of. So now he's suing JP Morgan for debanking him. I'm pretty sure he's suing them for $5 billion. He wants to sue, I'm pretty sure Bank of America, he's going to sue them. He's going to sue Wells Fargo. He's going to sue Deutsche Bank for the same amount, probably $10 billion. But you get what I'm saying? He's extorted the whole world with tariffs, only to extort deals for him to enrich himself with oligarchs behind these deals. He said in the media, in the White House, in front of the media, he said, I'm getting so rich off of suing the media and forcing them to settle. I'm getting so rich off of it. I don't know why I didn't do this a long time ago. He's bragging about in front of the cameras how he's extorting the media and enriching himself. Not only the media, but the banks, the colleges. He's an extortionist. He's always been an extortionist. His whole political career has been around extorting. He's extorted every nation on earth. He tries to extort and annex Greenland and Canada off of Europe. He's extorted every nation around the world just for him to divvy up deals with him and his business cronies, for them to enrich themselves through Wall Street. He said in his rallies, I'm going to take, and I'm going to keep on taking, and I'm going to take so much that my supporters are going to get tired of me taking, but I'm going to keep on taking. But it seems that the only ones that are getting rich is him and his crony partners. And how he's made an extortion racket out of the Oval Office. He's received so much payout through cryptos and through money laundering money into his real estate just to leverage that Oval Office. To think that he wants to sue the IRS as president and then pay himself as president $10 billion from the IRS coffers, which is a whole year of their revenues, almost 75% of what they earn entire for the year, what they collect from the American people. $10 billion is 75% of their yearly gross of the IRS revenues. Just because they released his form where he only paid $700, the Trump organization only paid $700 for the entire year. Now, this is a guy that in his first year, in his second term, he made $1.5 billion. His family and himself, out of his crypto Ponzi schemes, out of his sons snipping the purse strings of Congress and embezzling the Treasury Department with cryptos and shell companies of cryptos, stablecoin companies that they prop up, and then their own crypto companies, only for Trump to try to stablecoin with the petrodollars, only to enrich himself with oil deals and money laundered cryptos into his real estate by willing and dealing. But as president, he wants to extort the media for billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. To think that you want to sue BBC for $10 billion, Fox News for $10 billion, the New York Times newspaper for $5 billion, J.P. Morgan for $5 billion, the IRS for $10 billion. And to think that he's just desperately trying to extort anybody he can get into court to enrich himself with billions and billions of dollars. And to think when he was found guilty in New York of real estate fraud, that the 5 judges of a district circuit court in New York, they said, oh my God, $500 million to charge Trump with a penalty for his real estate. Because Letitia James won. She was able to prove that Trump committed real estate fraud, tax evasion, bank fraud, insurance, real estate insurance fraud. She was able to prove all of that. And they found him a penalty for $500 million with an M. And then the circuit court, because he appealed it. And then the circuit court, they said, oh my God, $500 million as a penalty is too steep. $500 million with an M. But as chief and commander, he's trying to extort $10 billion off of BBC, $10 billion off of Fox News with B's. I'm not talking about an M. 5 billion J.P. Morgan, 5 billion New York Times magazine, Time newspaper. So he's suing people for billions and billions of dollars, while the stupid New York circuit said, oh my God, he was found guilty, but to charge him $500 million penalty, that's too steep. So he got away with paying not even a penny as a penalty for him being found guilty. Now he wants to extort the entire government for $10 billion by stealing the coffers of the IRS, only for him to pocket the $10 billion for himself. So that means every American people that got taxed for that whole year, he's going to pocket your hard-earned money that was taxed by the IRS. $10 billion, which is 75% of what the IRS grossed with taxation for the entire government for that year. He wants to pocket it for himself. So that means the taxpayers are going to flip the bill for his because he wants to sue the IRS because they released an audit saying that he only paid $700 for the entire year. So that gives him ground to sue them for $10 billion because they told the truth. When he had a table in 2015, when he was running for office, remember he had a table full of stacked papers. He said, these are my records, my tax records, but I can't release it to the media because I'm being audited. That was the same year he was trying to hide his money in tax havens and only pay the IRS $700. So for that reason, he thinks he has ground as president in his second term to extort the IRS off of $10 billion. If anything, Trump is an extortionist. His whole career in politics shows that he's an extortionist artist. He's extorted the whole world to enrich himself and his crony business partners. He's aligning himself inside the treasury with his children to crypto it out into his real estate and turn the treasury department into a Ponzi scheme with his cryptos, money laundering, while he tries to extort these deals globally and uses his son through the treasuries to enrich himself through cryptos. His net worth in his second term was $3 billion, and in 1 year from $3 billion, his net worth went up to $10 billion. And they pocketed for that year in his second term $1,500,000,000. That's what they pocketed, but their net worth was from $3 billion to $10 billion in 1 year. So if anything, he's extorted money out of the Arab, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Dubai, United Emirates, Abu Dhabi. He's extorted himself wealthy over there by making payouts, pay for play schemes. But now he's extorting the media because he's getting so rich off of it. He even bragged about it in front of the cameras. Hey, I should have done this a long time ago because I'm getting so rich off of it. I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. But to think that he wants to extort the IRS for $10 billion with a B, because they released his tax filing that said that he only paid $700 for the entire year. His Trump organization only paid $700. Remember when in 2015 he had a table full of IRS papers. He said, I'm being audited, so I can't release the papers. When the audit is through, I'll release the papers. But because the IRS released the papers after his audit was through, showing that he only paid $700, so that gives him ground to sue them for $10 billion, which is 75% of the coffers of the IRS for the entire year of taxing the American people. So if anything, as president, he wants to sue the IRS and pay himself 75% of the garnishment of the entire government taxation on the American people, just because he felt that they slighted him by releasing the paper saying that he only paid $700 for the entire year in 2015 when he was being audited. Can you imagine? That he's suing 75%, that means 75% of the American people. He wants to steal your taxation for the entire year, meaning if you work overtime, if you work a blue-collar job, if you work 2 jobs, overtime job, just to pay your bills, and you were taxed by Uncle Sam, IRS, now he wants to steal your money of taxation so he can pay himself out as president. Because they released the fact that he only paid $700 for that year in taxation in 2015 when he was running for office, when he was hiding the truth from his base, that he hides his money out in tax havens and he only pays a meager payment to the IRS of $700 for the federal taxation of his Trump organization. And because they released that to the American people, it gives him ground to sue them as president for $10 billion, which is basically robbing the nation out of revenues that can go to pay the federal debt, but he wants to pocket it for himself. That means for 75% of the American population that worked for the entire year and paid federal taxation, Trump wants to pocket it. Your blood, sweat, and tears for that whole year, he wants to pocket it. Because when he had all those stack of papers in 2015 on the table and telling the media, I can't release my audits because I'm under audit, but once the audit is over, I'll release it, which he never did. But when the reporter got a hold of his tax filings, showing that he only paid $700, so now he wants to sue the IRS for not keeping his word of releasing the filings after the audit was over. So he felt like he was slighted because he didn't, he was a hypocrite, he didn't keep his word, so that gives him ground to sue and extort $10 billion as president from the IRS, sue them as chief of commander, and then pay himself out? As an executive order? Can you imagine suing the colleges, suing the media, just to enrich himself? Not to mention He's extorting every nation on earth with deals, only to line himself and his business partners' pockets while they grow fat on Wall Street. He said, I'm going to take so much, my supporters are going to get tired of me taking, but I'm going to keep on taking. While the nation is becoming bankrupt, and the only ones that get rich are himself dodging his fat pockets with his corruption of extortions. Just the corruption is so... I mean, the Republicans have to be held accountable, the politicians. And today turn them over for prosecution.